seems like we go year to year, and I'd like to know from the commission what those priorities are, because the last thing we want is whether it's this group of commissioners or a different group of commissioners, is the voters do a levy and say, yeah, we support whatever that is, and that goes in, and then our general fund is reduced by a corresponding amount. I'm not saying that you would do that, but I'm saying there's no prohibition, there's nothing preventing commissioners from doing that. I wanna know what's your long-term priorities as far as the holistic county budget. And we've talked a little about that in terms of where we anticipate growth. But, at some point, we're gonna have another 2008, some point down the road. We have to be prepared for that, so,
Would it be Debbie Downer?
yeah, I know.
No offense, Debbie.
Winter's coming. But I agree, we've had that discussion a couple times.
A piece of that too should be, I think, public safety and justice. And that would be a good place to put in a piece informing the public of why you needed a deputy county attorney and the place where we could fund that. We simply don't have it in the general fund, and that's one of the reasons that we asked everyone else to look at cutting 5%. We simply don't have enough money in the general fund to afford a deputy county attorney. So I do agree with Mike. I think there has to be communication with the public. There's gonna have to be an ask if you guys keep up with the spending that you have been. And I know that that is meeting the requests of the public and the public safety side of it. But I think a joint mill levy where every single one of us elected officials and citizens and employees stands behind you and helps you, I think it could have, I think it could be instrumental in uniting us, which we're not right now. But it could be that piece that unites us, because this isn't about your department, or your department, or your department, or your department. It is about Broadwater County and really our very future. So I think that's one of the pieces that I would add to your survey, the mill levy. And I think we've got to look at this, sooner rather than later. So maybe a timeline. When are you looking at contacting this company or this person?
Well, I'm trying to figure out which, there's a couple of them that, the one that I was thinking of, they just kind of went away. And so they kind of doing their own, they're both doing their own thing, kind of, but I don't know if they're doing what I need them to do. So they're still kind of doing that consulting type thing, but I don't know if it's on the level that as together they did. So it's just
When have you considered checking with MSU and see what kind of survey they can put together?
We tried to talk to Allison about that. So, it's unfortunately there's some things that tighten up a little bit here, but still trying to get down. So
And I
it's just
know that
something's
this-
got to give, and that's the thing. And
We're the 40th in the state for taxes. It's been well known that we've got some of the lowest property taxes in the state. Well, the numbers show us at 40. And that's compared to Webo and, petroleum. This community, I think we owe them the respect of asking them, is this what you want?
Yeah.
And I think when you look at even the last school levy, what was it that put that over the finish line? Education, talking with people, an open dialogue. I think that could have also so many positive ramifications. And again, all of us working together as a cohesive unit could do an awful lot to help educate people.
No, nobody wants their taxes to go up,
Right?
but there comes a time, and this community has proved, when you show them that it's a need, they will go for it.
Well,
If it's a want, forget it. You need to prove to them it's a need, and this is a need. And we need to work together and get this done.
I think it's been a need for a long time.
Absolutely, it has.
But, you know, and that's where, you know, being open with people and having that open dialogue, you know, having our webpage, having our Facebook page has helped out tremendously. You know, that little blurb I put on our Facebook page on Sunday, sending my condolences to the families that lost their families in that crash, that thing this morning had been seen by 37,000 people. 37,000 people had looked at that and read it. That's getting your information out. The one I put on the day after Mason was killed was viewed by 113,000 people. That's a lot bigger than just Broadwater County. And so that has really been a huge benefit to us to get our story out there and get our information out there. And it's a good way for people also to put their wants and needs in there. I don't know how many times a day somebody sends a message to the sheriff's office Facebook page with a request, or they have an issue, or they have a concern. And so then we get to get all that, but that's only a small number of folks that are doing that. And so, you know, the whole justice system in a whole right now is a frustration for a lot of the, not only people in Broward County, but across Montana and the United States as well. And I think that asking the right questions, you have to ask the right questions in order to get the right response. But I think in a survey that has the right questions in it, we'll get people to go, is this something I'm willing to do? You know, Jeff County, when I talked to Sheriff Doolittle about his, you know, he was like, it's $100 a year. He goes, to have somebody, when you dial 911, answer that phone, $100. He goes, people are paying $100 a month for a security system on their house that I still have to respond to. He says, it doesn't make any sense to me. So people were balking at it, but when we put it in perspective of, this is what you're paying for, people were more apt to say, oh gosh, you know, hell, I'm doing that already. That's going out to Sir Scott's Oasis every month to have dinner. It's the same thing. So you just gotta see where it is in the people's priority. I mean, I can only do what they allow me to do anyway. So, you know, I think getting those right questions defined, and obviously it might take 2 surveys. It might be, what do you expect? And then, what are you looking for out of your public safety and your judicial system? And then ask the next questions of, okay, these are options, what are you willing to do? And then I think that would lay a pretty good foundation about where that will go. You know, unfortunately, a lot of people we do have, the public safety side of the house, we do have a lot of support and respect from the community, and that's very apparent. So, but there's that backside. We're all links in the chain here. It's not, none of us exist without the other ones. So, you gotta get everybody needs to, people need to look at the county government as a whole and not just isolated pieces of it. So, if that makes any sense, I don't know if it does, but,
It does, and it starts with us,
so, I mean, it's,
all of us,
Mhm.
I mean,
because if my office wasn't doing my job, he wouldn't have a job to do, and Val wouldn't have a job to do, and the judge wouldn't have a job to do. And that really starts with my dispatch, and that's where it starts there. And if we didn't have commissioners, we wouldn't have people that set our budgets to operate on in the first place. And so, I mean, we all have a key component in the whole mix, but I think it's possible. I don't think it's too off the wall. And I think people move here because they want to. I think we're 26th in the state this year. It fluctuates. I think we're 26th for places. If you're going to be a victim of a violent crime, I think we're rated 26th. Last year we were 31. The year before we were number 5. And so we're in the middle of the pack. I think people realize we're still a safe community, and that's why they're moving here rapidly. So I don't think that if it was something that was too big, I don't think there'd be a huge issue with it. So, and with the growth we got right now, I mean, it's sustainable at some point. So.
my worry with all the budgets is if things just stay where they're at this year, without this CD plan, we're asking everybody else to do 5% cuts. That doesn't include, however, weed or mosquito. And the reason it doesn't is because they went to the public and said, hey, would you give us some mills? The public said yes. We can't touch those. When the public says we are voting in 5 mills for weed, those mills stay with weed, period.
The only way you could take part of that is if they have mills above the 5, you could take 5% of whatever their mills are above the 5, but you can't take the 5.
Yeah,
Right.
you have general
Yeah.
fund.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to your question, Corey, yes, if the citizens said, we want such and such mills for public safety and a county attorney, get deputy county attorney, then that's where that money goes, period. There's absolutely no debate, no discussion. That's what the citizens say and that's what we do. If we don't do that, this plan is extremely temporary. One, we don't have the money for the trial. We may be looking at personal checks for the MCA. We don't have it, period. If we look to all these other departments that we've already asked to cut 5%, and we say, now we need you to cut personnel, there's going to be, again, further division, because theoretically, this side was cut 5%, now this side is cutting personnel, and this side isn't. This side's getting all the money. That isn't healthy for our community, it's not healthy for our citizens, it's not healthy for our employees. What we need is a balance where we're all in this together, and I think that's where this plan with this CD really comes in. Okay, we're all in this together. There are gonna have to be giving by this side to help this side right now. But this side, to help everybody, has committed to going to the citizens for a mill levy so that they can sustain the cost of this trial, they can sustain the cost of patrols and all the other things that you asked for. When we look at the general fund, there's an awful lot of money that is used to support public safety, and I think that's right, I think it's a good thing to do. But when the argument comes back that commissioners are cutting these budgets, like was said last year so much, it's divisive, and it makes us relook at all that money coming from the general fund to public safety and say, no, we're gonna cut that now because it's not appreciated. It's being used as a weapon instead of adding to the unity that we need to have. So I guess those would be my requests, is one, that you do commit to going to the public, asking them for both those things. Include the trial, because we need some help funding that if it does go, especially to the death penalty phase. But also, I think it puts other people, we got an email from an employee who was scared to death she was losing her job over this. That's not right to do to somebody. She and other employees who didn't voice those concerns need that reassurance from you guys specifically. And they also need to know that we are one unit in this together, that if you do go out for that, that we're all going to help you. You're not out there on your own, you're just the leaders, because it's for your departments.
Well, so, like I said, something has to give, and that's the thing. And that's why, as citizens, we all have to go, okay, what's it worth to us? If we want to continue to have what we have from, and it's not, we'll be realistic here, fire and medical fall into this is, they're part of the public safety component as well that we deal with. Dispatch, and people don't realize that, is that dispatch center is a huge part of that fire medical component as well. And we can't keep providing the same service as we are today if it keeps going. Like I told Mike this morning, our guy is just, or was it yesterday? It was yesterday afternoon I looked. They've gone on 4,484 calls. That's boots on the ground taking calls. That's craziness. I mean, that's not counting the calls that we deal with on the phone and things we take care of over the phone or what have you. that's boots driving to a scene to take a report. Those are staggered. We can't keep that up without the help financially. I mean, that's just all there is to it. And like Corey said, the way the cases are going, people, the demands the courts see, the juries wanna see, it all takes man hours and it takes equipment and everything else. You know, it's sad when we lost a rape case because, we didn't have a phone, a simple phone, and the jury didn't like it, and they said, nope, not guilty. And we had to try it over again, but,
Yeah, they were hung.
you know, so, you know, that's what we're facing, and then, of course, everything else is, you know, like I told Mike this morning, unfortunately, I just spent $4,500 on 3 autopsies on Monday, and the thing is they don't know if it's gonna go criminal or not. Won't know for 6 to 10 weeks, if even then. So, if I don't do it, and it does go criminal, then I don't have the information, because everybody's gone. So, I had to, you know, make a decision on which side of the fence this is gonna fall on, and either way, it could be a very, very drastic civil case, or it could be a criminal case with a drastic civil case along with it. And so I don't know where it's gonna go, but that's, you know, that's money that I don't have budgeted for. It's money that I didn't expect to spend, but I had to do it, and that's, you know, it's part of being the boss, I guess, but, you know, the storage fees for the French case, I mean, $3,000 in storage fees on a homicide, or attempted homicide case. Those are things that I'm not budgeting for. You know, I had $500 budgeted for tows. I went over budget in the first damn week I had it. So it's, I think getting that information out there is that the cost of doing police work anymore is very expensive, you know. It's not like the good old days where you drove around in a car and waved at people, got out, shook hands and kissed babies. A lot of things are going with this. You know, the things with Mason, we learned on the reports that have been coming in, everything from vehicle information to body armor information. Do they have a body cam? Don't they have body cam? Do they have a portable radio? Do they have an in-car radio? Good Lord. Took Brandon 4 days to fill all that information out. So we're learning a lot about what people expect out there, and we're trying to minimize the bloodshed, I guess, or blood spilling on the floor because it feels like it. And we don't want to be the life suck of the county either. So, and sometimes we feel that way. But I think find the best group to do the survey and go from there. I think that's
When time is of the essence, because if you're going to want money to come in 2018,
it has
you
to be
need to
done.
get the mill levy vote in however many days it has to be before, so the clock's ticking.
Yeah, that's the only downside is the time element on that.
Well, and Townsend's gonna cancel their municipal election because they don't have
Correct.
contested candidates.
So, but you still, in order to get it for the 2018, I don't know how many days you have to have that vote before the taxes go out. I'm just saying, the
Well,
clock's ticking.
That would have to go, can it be approved on a primary, or does it have to go on the general?
I can go primary. So are you thinking June?
Yeah.
That's an awfully long time. You're looking at, your reserves right now, Win, are not good. They're 11%. So we get to June, and that's when
I thought,
the vote is, if we are looking at spending this money on a trial that we think may start in July, there's nothing to help you. You could easily be looking at layoffs if you guys don't have
Well, I
something in
don't-
place before
Okay,
then.
this
this is the
this is
last
where I
one.
need to know, I got a lot better picture of what you guys are seeing then, because, you know, the two big unanswered questions from this morning were, if your revenue is this much and your expenditures are this much, where's that money going? That Wayne had asked. The second one is, are we in fact several million over are allowed reserves, I don't know the answer to that. But that's why I'm asking, what are your priorities? Because it's very hard for the public to understand how you can support $1 million CD investment or cash in, or whatever you wanna call it, for a hospital, and then turn around and say, this much money for a trial that we can't just duck, could result in layoffs for the sheriff's office. It's hard for me to understand that, it's gonna be extremely hard for the public to understand that. So, some of these budget questions, revenue, investment, whatever questions, we need to know, we all need to get to the bottom of that, because that drives everything. We've been discussing this and inching our way to this idea of a mill levy, but, this idea that we have to do it this fall, or there's layoffs next summer because of this
So
trial.
don't put words in my mouth,
I
'cause
don't-
that's not what I said,
That's
Cory.
it, I see, that's exactly what you just said.
No, it
So-
isn't, it isn't, and I've kinda had it to hear with you putting words in my mouth, so I'm gonna ask you respectively to please stop doing that. You can repeat what I say, do not put words in my mouth that I did not say.
Okay, you just said
So-
layoffs in the sheriff's office next summer.
No,
You,
I didn't, Cory.
okay, well,
This is what we need, is more respect between elected officials, and a whole lot less of this going on. So, as far as this unity that we need to come up with, let's start with the hospital. We all know what that was, the information has been shared ad nauseum, at least between those of us who work here in the county, and certainly between those of us who are the leaders of this county. You just said whatever you want to call it. No, Cory, you drafted the information. It is an investment in community health care. It is all being paid back at double the interest it's getting right now, and it's being done so in half the time of a mature CD investment. When you look at just the dollars and cents and take all emotions out of it, it is a good, sound investment for the citizens of Broadwater County. There is no money lost. There is more money gained at a quicker rate. It is an investment in the health and safety of our citizens, and it is being totally paid back. When we talk
but on
about
this,
this
let's,
trial,
let's.
so if we wanna talk about the citizens, let's be
refine
honest
the
about what it
issue on
is.
my point is, in light of the new information from Harold this morning, that you can't just pull a CD as new money. I had never contemplated that concept. What we did at the hospital is legal, it's fine, it's your guys' decision, and great, I think it's gonna be good. The point is, in light of the new information from Harold this morning, about how you can't just grab a CD and take it, and if it's on the books, that makes me then go, okay, we have to get to the bottom of this global situation of the county's finances. We have to, that's like, I think we all agree on that. My concern then is the communication to the public. You did, in fact, just say those words, that you're looking at layoffs in the sheriff's office
No, I
next
did
summer.
not. I said, and I'll repeat myself, Cory,
Was I in a different room from everybody
what we
else?
are looking at is a potential huge sum of money, maybe $1 million for this, but we simply don't have to just get rid of. You don't have any reserves in your account beyond the 11%.
Well, that's what the
Every
question is.
previous year, when we've gotten to June, and you've come to the commission, or your predecessors come to the commission and said, I can't get through the next few months, I don't have any money, there's no reserves. The commission has come up with a plan to infill public safety so there were no layoffs. We've done that every year I've been on this commission.
You sent
What
an
I'm
email in
saying
May
right now
saying that you were gonna
is
fill it
if
in.
we have the cost of this trial looming, and Cory expects it to go to the jurors next July, we may not have the money to give you that bailout in June. And you could be looking at layoffs if you don't figure out some way to have some infill in July. That's what I said. I didn't say there's going to be
But
layoffs.
you
I said it
said-
will be hard for us to find a bailout
Okay.
for you with the trial as the #1 priority.
Okay, but you sent me an email in May saying that you guys were gonna take a CD and fill my cash reserves at 33%, true or false? Okay,
That is exactly
so-
what we said, that was part of the original budget plan,
Okay.
yes. And
So-
that was prior to the murder of Deputy Mason, Moore.
that was actually after Mason, because I was in South Carolina when I got the email.
Well, maybe it was, but
So-
that decision was done prior.
Okay.
It was part of the budget, and that was letting you guys know what
So
the decision
the-
was.
With that, and part of my discussion with Mike Smore, is like the revenue that the jail makes. So the jail, like I said during the budget meeting, if the jail is gonna pay for itself, then the revenue that it builds stays under that umbrella as well. Because then I can actually create CIPs, and I don't have to come and ask you guys for things. Cause we were expected at $775, we spent well over that, in regards to expenditures. But we brought in $1 million in jail revenue. So I could take that revenue and go, okay, instead of coming and asking for assistance with vests, I'm gonna put this over here. That's my vest, and that's my vest CIP. So next time I have to replace vests, that's where it comes out. Oh, look at this. Here's something for mapping or whatever. I'm just using different things. That money can be set aside and left there. And every year, it can be increased, it can be decreased, but I don't have to keep coming back here going, hey, I have a problem, I need $5,000. Or I need $20,000 for a car. Or towards an upfit on a car because the insurance guy didn't cover it. Or, heaven forbid, Lord, if I had wood, I'd knock on it. Hopefully I never lose another officer. And I don't have to then try to figure out how we're gonna take care of business another time. I can't, like I said, I can't control what's out there. I don't have, and the hardest thing that I struggle with is when I come down here is that I feel like you look at as if I'm, and no offense to Doug, a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, weekends and holidays off budget. Just like I told you, I'm 2,500 over in my towing already because some clowns from Missoula and Billings decided to come into my county and have a shootout. Can't control it. I have to pay the after effects for it. And that's why I get so frustrated because there's no wiggle room within the budget. We're always talking $500 or $1,000 here. And in one incident, $2,500, just like that I can't control. And with that, I have 2 cars that are sitting in Dana's storage unit right now, or in his shop, because I can't let them go. Because why? Corey said, go ahead and let one go. Defense counsel says, no, don't let it go. Oh, okay, so I can hold on to it. I'm paying $50 a day of storage up at Virgil's. These are things I can't control, but I feel like when I come in here, you guys are saying scrutinize, 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 and then I go over. And then anything that, and Debbie will attest that a lot of my stuff is over. It's not because I'm frivolously spending. I can't control when my staff leaves or when I have to hire new ones. I mean, that's up to them. So I kind of feel like sometimes I get lumped into a bottle of this is where you need to be and don't fall out of it. When it's like a shaken bottle of soda pop. Don't crack the lid because it's coming off. And that's how I feel, okay? I'm trying to do my best. And I think I mean, hell, we just engaged in an online training program so I didn't have to put boots in a classroom and try to save money that way. You know, $68 a year to have somebody do online training that's post-certified and in-service training that's certified, or $300 goes a hotel and travel. So I'm trying to do these things to make it better, but I'm stuck in an aspect. I can't control the outside movement. So, you know, I'm outside of the mill levy, but I'm not gonna go after a mill that's not what the people want. So, I mean,
The hard part is, I totally understand where you're at. You can't have a crystal ball, but a budget isn't reliant on a crystal ball.
No.
It's reliant on planning. You can't plan on everything, but that is why we've had bailouts annually in the past. That is why we gave you $50,000 this year from PILT. That is why we are going to try and continue that in the future years, as long as PILT is there. But the flip side of that win is not that we are scrutinizing you, it's that we're trying to balance the whole budget. For us to look at, Harold threw out an example of getting rid of extension in order to fund public safety. That's gonna be a really hard one because you talk about the quality of life. What is it that keeps kids from meeting you in a bad situation 20 years from now? 4-H. It is a great preventative. It is a great thing that draws people to Broadwater County as our extremely successful 4-H program. We just had a fair and rodeo that was hit out of the park. Now we're gonna cut those?
Well, and I'm not saying that.
No, I know you're not, and I don't wanna even infer that you were, cause I know you absolutely weren't, cause I know that one of those areas happens to be your passion, and I would imagine the others are too. But if this is going to continue without asking the public, we are either gonna be faced with, we got nothing to help you with, or the flip side is going to be, yeah, we'll get rid of extension. And that's,
No,
neither of those options is going to
Laura,
put anybody or
I'm gonna, I have no problem going to the public. I'm just gonna go at the way that it needs to be done. I'm not gonna half-ass it. I'm not gonna just throw it out there and say, I'm gonna throw it out there, roll the dice and hope I hit a 7. I'm not gonna do that. That's not how I work.
No,
It
there,
takes
there
planning.
has, there has to be a solid amount
Yep.
of money that you're asking for.
Yep.
And we all agree with that. We know that, and we support that.
Yep.
It just needs to
Come to
not be,
fruition.
it just needs to be done,
And it's,
yeah.
and I'll tell you, since May, last week, I spent all last week sitting at my desk doing paperwork on Masons, because I have all these little things that need this, that, what have you. Everything from the National Officers Memorial, to the cops, to the NRA, to the federal government, that's all I've been doing. And then I've got one left, it's a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper in 8 size font, with a whole list of things that I have to do to get Mason's family the federal NLI due to death benefit, but I need a police report from DCI. And then I have a triple fatal. It's not, I don't get to control, and that's the hardest part. I spent 15 hours between here, I left here Monday morning, my house at 6:30, I got home a little after 11 p.m. After my drive to Missoula, 7 hours for autopsies, and then drive back to Helen, drop one off, drive all the way to Bozeman, drop the other 2 off, and then find my way home. That's my day. I don't get to control it, and that's the hard part of trying to get some of these things done, is I'm still trying to deal with Mason. Now I have 3 other deceased, and as of last night, and I'm elected, I get paid 24/7, but I had 32 hours by the time I went home, from Sunday afternoon until I went home last night. And I'm here again today, and I'll be here again tomorrow, and I'll probably be here again on Friday. So I'm trying to do as much as I can with the time that I have. And as much as I've been throwing a lot on Brandon's plate just because I can't get it all done on my own. So that's our plan, is to go that way. We just wanna make sure we do it the right way. I want success. I don't wanna waste everybody's time, money, and effort, especially my own, for a failure. So that's just how I am, so. Do you wanna jump in on that?
No, I think it makes sense to do it, but let's look at it and let's do it appropriately. And I think option 1 is a short duration one specifically for this purpose, but option 2 that I don't wanna rule out yet is that we actually do a permanent mill levy focused on what is our long-term plan, dealing with what we believe are the long-term needs. And that's why I'm suggesting for that, I would like the commission to give us more feedback as to your long-term goals for the budget for the entire county. And I think that's a reasonable request, and that's gonna help all of us know we're on the same page and we're in the right direction.
And my answer to that would be, I'm not against this, permanent mill levies. I think because I think that as we go down the road here, that's the amount of money we're gonna end up needing to keep operating at a capable level. Maybe not an extremely efficient level, but capable for what we have. I think that we can be efficient with that amount. The thing is, if we run it as a 3, or as a permanent, doesn't matter. I still don't think that in the future, that's gonna be enough. I don't think that you're gonna, when they get done messing with these roads and getting everything tied in, we're gonna see a 20% increase in traffic at the minimum. And we're already sitting here, in the last 2 years that I've been involved with going to meetings and stuff, we're constantly struggling with this amount of money that we budget. You gotta budget more. It's a simple fact of life that south end is gonna continue to grow like it is, and we don't have anybody down there. And the problem with that is you're sitting right on the interstate. So we have, just like Wednesday, we have no control of what goes on, other than, even if we put a deputy down there, we don't have any control. But we need to fund more. And as much, like I said, as much as I hate to use PILT, that's what you're gonna have to do, and it doesn't matter if they either pass it as a 3 or a permanent, it's still not gonna be enough, cause it's absolutely continue to snowball, and you're not gonna stop it.
Yeah.
You can't stop it if you're only budgeting a third more of what you need, and you need a half more, you can't stop it with that third, you gotta have that half. And it's gonna have to come from the taxpayers, and no matter what we do, it's either gonna have to come from more development, which is gonna mean more people, which is gonna mean more services, which is gonna cost us more money. So if you don't figure that PILT, as much as I hate to use it, we're gonna end up in 3 years right back where we are right now. We're not gonna end up with a solid budget to work on all the time. And then the problem that's gonna happen with that is if our law enforcement doesn't have the budget, instead of getting in the people that we want to enhance our community, we're gonna end up with the trash moving in here, taking advantage of the situation. So, one way or the other, like it or not, your departments and Val's, anybody that's involved with the justice system, it's gonna continue to grow. And as far as I'm concerned, if you don't pay for it, we're just gonna be going back and back further all the time. So, I guess my commitment is that whatever we need to pay, irregardless, I don't wanna cut anybody's budget, and I don't wanna lay any people off, because if we keep getting all these people, bottom line, we're gonna have to hire more people. But the thing is, if you don't have the law enforcement to keep people in line, then we're just gonna end up in more trouble all the time. I just think that you need to fund it one way or the other. And I'm not opposed to funding it if we have to. I don't like funding it through PILT, because just like Harold said, it may go away next week. But if that's what we gotta do, that's what we gotta do, and then when it gets to the point where there's no PILT, then taxpayers are gonna have to come up with more. Unless you wanna live in a rogue county stuck between two huge ones, pretty soon Gallatin County, Bozeman's gonna be at our doorstep. And how are we gonna handle that mess?
Yeah. Yeah, some of those hard choices that other counties have made is you really gotta try hard to get arrested. you
Yeah.
know? And bro, what are we having, they haven't done that, they've been, you do this, you're getting arrested, you'll spend the night in jail. So there's those kinds of things that other people have made, those trade-offs, or prosecutors have made a lot of trade-offs and stuff that they're not gonna file. There's a couple of exceptions to that, but generally I believe it's a felony, and I believe the situation requires it, I'll file it, I don't, but we get to that point where, all right, I gotta dump 50 misdemeanors, open the drawer and let's start doing it.
Let them go.
That's pretty tough to look at those victims and say sorry.
Yeah,
And
we
that's
have
where none of us wanna be. You asked about goals. There's 3 things that we are charged by law with doing. One is prosperity of the community, one is health, one is safety. The 3 are 3 legs of a 3-legged stool. If you lose one, you lose all of it. So health, that's not just, health is, every department is an essential function. It adds to the quality of life, it adds to people getting the things that they need, and it answers the law. The law says we have to have planning, the law says we have to have sanitation, the law says we have to have a clerk and recorder and staff to do the job. That is, every department is an essential function, and that's the health of our community. The second leg of the stool is the prosperity. Mike just hit it. Yeah, we've got a lot of lots, we've got a lot of houses being built, we've got a lot of people moving in. But those are That's not where our economy is gonna build. Our economy is gonna build, just like we heard today, from light manufacturing coming in, Felco, from development on the southern end that could actually add a tax solution that gives us the money to build a law enforcement office down there and provide a home for somebody. These are things that we're just on the cusp of. There are works in progress right now, and we're about ready to just launch into something that could help this county. We almost had 2 solar farms. There's stuff cooking with that again now, too. So that's what we need, and whatever this commission can do to help our prosperity, our economic development in the way of business. The hospital loan was a way of sustaining 100+ jobs that are good paying jobs for this community. That was our law dictated job, our economy. And then the last one is safety. And my vision there, my goal is board cops. I wanna see you guys with nothing to do. I would like to walk by the basketball courts over here and see your deputies playing basketball with kids. Your lunch at the school, lunch with a cop. That's, I think, the most essential job you can do for the community, is get to know those kids when they're this big, so that they know you as Wynn and Brandon and Seth and Marvin and whoever else. Not by the scary guy in the uniform that comes to a domestic. I want those guys to know you as the guys that come and eat lunch and play basketball with them. So there's my goals.
They don't think I'm too scary though.
You know, in this future goal, I think what you're gonna have to do as soon as you can is figure out what you're gonna need on these mills in the future. And I don't know, same way, go for the 3-year, or the 3-year, you might guess them again, and so I guess you just have to get to figure out what it's gonna take.
Well, and
But-
part of that, we haven't talked about, Franklin, and it's because it's on standstill, is Marcy's Law. And Corey's brought up a lot, is the Marcy's Law, the victim's rights in the Constitution. And where the constitutionality of that is right now is the one that's in question. But I have a feeling that's gonna come back to play, and that's gonna add in a whole new dynamic. And I think everybody needs to look at that and say, you know, how do we deal with that? You know, how do we deal with what's there? So not is there, you know, I wanna look at the deputy county attorney, but then also, you know, drugs is one of our major problems. We have a lot of drug abuse in Broward County. We need to have somebody there. Border Crime Patrol, you sit in the chair. You know, that I went on to DOC. I don't know if that's changed your position or not since they messed with it. But they've been on our drug task forces for 20 years. Fund your guys. Use this for operational stuff, quit funding guys with it. And that's been a conversation piece for, that's probably closer to 30 years now. So, you know, that's where my dedication to that was that I'm not gonna go and try to fund somebody off of those funds, because they might disappear and then I'm out. So it's easier for me to try to hard source that or hard fund it. So there's that, and Marcy's Law, deputy county attorney, and then just overall other increases in expenses. So really, I mean, it could be a fairly significant bill at the end of the day. And I think that's where, I mean,
Well, it's important to get that out there. I think you said there was over 4,000 calls already. And Corey said the other day there was already over 53 felonies.
No,
Or
that was
whatever it was.
last-
But I mean,
that
that's
was
the
last
stuff we
year.
gotta get out there
Yeah.
for on this meal. But there again, that's down the road a ways, because right now, we took quite a blow here just about an hour or so ago, if we can't, or what it's gonna take to use these CDs. It looked like that was gonna go along pretty good, and right now, we're kind of at a standstill on that. So that's the thing, I think right now we gotta get on and get that part figured. This, long-term goal is gonna have to wait a little bit till we get this first part.
well, I'm gonna still work on trying to get that survey completed. I'd like to.
Right.
I'd like to get it done. I mean, but realistically,
But all those things will take a little bit of time.
yes, you know, but chances are, even if I went and found Steve today and said, are you willing to do it? By the time that thing went out in mail, it's probably gonna be October, November before it's presented to go out, you know. Because what constitutes emergency on my part doesn't constitute one on somebody else's. So, you know, just in jumping into things, you know, it's gonna take a bit, you know. So if I could get something presented by April next year, that'd be a handy piece of, be a good thing to have. But then there's that public education component, and Eric is a prime example. Eric Bryson, he sat here two or three times trying to get a jail revenue or jail bond passed and failed.
You know, the other thing to think about is we'll both be asking for more money when we're running for election, so
Yeah,
they might say no twice.
Another thing for you guys to consider, and Mike alluded to it too, the hospital's mill levy is done in November. First one out is gonna have the greatest success actually reverting that particular mill levy to something else. There are rumors that perhaps they'll go for it again, the school might go for it. If it is too thinly spread, just like we heard today, then it's a harder push for all. So it might not be it might not be a good strategy to wait until the next primary. I understand the element of time and wanting to do it right, but you might be wise to try and speed that up. If you can, do a mail-in ballot, do it at your own time, and that way you're not competing with those other entities. The
How much
hospital
would that-
just got a mill levy and the school just got theirs, last year or the year before?
Which would it cost the county to do a special election mail?
Seems like most of them, the school does are around between 2,000 and 3,000.
Oh, okay, I was thinking it was like 12, it's not that much.
That's not that much. I do have a couple thoughts though on finance. Just listening to all this, I'm wondering how many of our county departments actually budget for the 1/3 reserve. I don't think a lot of them do. I'm guessing. I don't see all
Not
the
in the
budgets.
general fund, we've got a real problem there, but the
Yeah.
others do.
But I'm wondering
Fair
if that's
extension.
not part of the problem, if we can only mill what we did last year plus a small increase, and we've all been asked to cut our budgets almost every year. I'm wondering if that's not why we're keeping up with the cost of inflation. We're just simply not doing our budgets right. We're not budgeting for that 1/3 reserve, and we need to find a way to correct that.
Yes.
And on the CDs, there's been a lot of talk about those, and I gave you a report from 2010, I think it was. I haven't bought any new CDs for 3-4 years at least.
Really?
And the ones I did buy, I think I ended up cashing in because we needed them to operate. So we're stagnant there. That's not something that keeps replacing itself. What we have is what we have, and it hasn't been building for at least 4 years. It's probably closer to 7. We had about the same in 2010 as we do now. So that's just I'm just throwing that out there. That's not something that just keeps building each year. But as far as the election, I think Harold had a good point. I think it's a lot easier to get a 3-year mill levy passed than it is a permanent. And maybe once people see that 3-year levy and what it does and the good that it does, then it's easier to get it voted maybe after that 3 years as a permanent one. Just from what I've seen on elections, the permanent ones are more of a hard sell. I think the schools had a lot of success with their mill levies, mostly because they didn't do a mail ballot, they did them at the school. And from what I've seen on elections, and it's now to where probably half to over half vote by mail. That's just the way they do it anymore. It's easier for them. It seems like on a levy issue, the mail ballots are against, or more predominantly against, and the people who walk in to the polls and actually vote are the ones that are more likely to vote for. So I would just kind of caution against an all-mail ballot, even though it's way easier for my office. It's just, I think.
Or if you do decide to go mail, have all your information stuff out way before that ballot ever goes out.
No matter how you go, you want your information out early, because the people that vote by mail vote a lot earlier
Yes, they
than
do.
people think they do.
And if you wait until those ballots go out to start your push, you're dead.
Well, I
Yeah,
think
you
that's,
want the information out there before the ballots are even
Yes.
printed, because
Yes.
No,
once people get them, they return them, they start returning them the next
Yeah.
day, and their mind's made up already.
well, I think that was the thing, last drive back in 2007, I think it was the last one.
Yep, there was not.
There was no information.
There was no information out, the ballot went out,
Yeah.
and, no.
So,
And, you know, to the CDs, I hate to even bring this up, but just kind of backtracking on something earlier. If you were successful with a, say, an early June poll election for the mill levy, your money wouldn't come in until the next year. But that would be where we could, with a very clear conscience, give you a CD to pay for those couple of months, and then refund it with the mills.
yeah.
Because that would be in keeping with what the promise is to the public. This is for operations of public safety and the county attorney. Then we use the CD for operations of public safety and the county attorney. When those taxes come in, they pay back the CD in full, and then after that's done, you get your,
So if it's passed in
Money.
June, November, or the following May?
It'll be November, 'cause taxes are assessed in September,
Yeah.
right?
So it'd be November.
So the money would start coming in.
I'm gonna, I have the farrier coming to deal with my horses. But since Dave's here, I just wanted to submit it. We got him a plaque, for helping us with the interlocal agreement.
Stand over a little bit
Radio.
further so you're on camera.
I didn't know it was on, but we did, we just wanted to say thanks.
Well, thank you. That's a surprise. Thank you very
Well, all your
much.
work was a surprise too, so. But, are we good?
So ours
I'll
next
be
Monday canceled,
Yeah, 2/28, so
28th?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a jury trial starting that day.
I'll be back, in my office unless, so if you guys need me, I gotta go hold a couple horses that don't wanna be dealt with, so.
I'm done, other than the did you guys get my resolution?
yes, we'll do that here right away.
Okay.
thanks, Win.
Need anything, just holler at me.
Thanks.
Right. Don't get kicked in the head.
May I just add one thing? You know, like I said, I'm in support of of whatever makes this community and Broadwater County whole. But I just would like to throw out to the commissioners that we are seeing an influx of mental patients that either do not have insurance or Medicaid or whatever. So I may be coming to you for more money into my budget because of that. It's another one of those unforeseen things that come up that we are required by law to pay. And so I just want you guys to be aware of that. It's just a FYI.
You think you want, any more on this CDs now?
Just a quick question for Val,
Mhm.
Medicaid expansion.
Mhm.
Are there any options there, opportunities there?
I am not sure about that, I just get the bills from the, like Warm Springs or Journey Home, you know, that state that this is what's left over, they've been paid by insurance, you know, they've submitted to the insurance, but this is what is outstanding. I do have one that I'm, looking at, it's about $3,000, but Seth is looking into that. I don't believe she's a Broadwater County case, so that will be held. But we do have one right now that's about, almost $900 that the insurance did not take care of.
Could you contact the Commissioner of Insurances on that?
Sure.
Because in my understanding, that is exactly what Medicaid expansion was supposed to cover, so that it was alleviated from counties having to cover that.
Okay.
So if there's an opportunity there, let's grab it.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I think what Corey still, I don't know if you would stay long or not. We all got this resolution. And basically what it is, the Attorney General be sending somebody down on the case, and you wanna explain a little bit about it?
Well, we've been investigating this for about a year. And for about the last 4 or 5 months, I've been working with the AG's office on it. So this all predated everything with Mason, but this particular case is the type of case that it is a very difficult case, and so that's why I teamed up with another prosecutor on it. But, so this would authorize the AG's office, and it's a prosecutor named Catherine Truman, to assist on the case. It has been filed, so. That's it.
So, someone would make a motion to,
Will we sign and approve the resolution as presented by the county attorney?
I'll second. Move and second to support this resolution as presented by the county attorney for help from the AG's office. Any more discussion? No more discussion, we'll go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Look at the sound that you can take it as you go.
Okay.
I assume you need this.
Yeah, I need to,
Doesn't it need to be recorded?
It does.
yeah, and I can get a copy later.
Oh, okay.
Do you need a hard copy or shall I email it?
Email's fine.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Corey.
So are you finished with the elected officials, or do you have any other questions?
I don't. Thanks
Okay.
though for coming.
Uh-huh,
Oh, okay.
thanks.
Not with you two.
Uh,
Not with you two.
I guess Corey was picking up, or else you can get it to him, so now if you get it recorded right.
I've already made arrangements with
Okay.
Cory.
Is Dave still here? Hey, Dave, you had a question yesterday at the city council meeting about the city council is going to take into advisement increasing the interlocal they pay to the county attorney by $10,000. Dave had a question of how to ensure that that money indeed goes to the county attorney's office. Can you explain that to him so he understands a little bit more about that?
No, I think that question's been answered.
Has it? You good with that then? Okay. I was surprised to hear it last night, but I wanted to make sure if it's still a lingering question out there that we get the answer out there as well.
So they are going to or considering?
They're considering, and they're not gonna have their budget done in time for
It
hours.
wasn't on the city's agenda as a decision item, so.
Okay. Well, we can amend that later.
Right.
I'm just curious.
As long as we do the county stuff, I think we comply with the law and then the city can come in.
Well, and when we get it, we can amend it to include the spending or additional
Okay.
revenue authority.
Perfect.
Okay. back to these CDs and everything. This cash flow, you wanna see what you can dig up, find out.
No,
How
we're gonna
they-
work on it as a group, because we need to
Well, I know, but
understand.
they're the ones that are